So Greystar is a rental housing specialist. It's our only focus as a business. And really the way we organize ourselves is we are the operator, we're the developer, and we're the investor in rental housing in all the major cities around the world. And that's really our focus. And our customer base, our residents, are really the focus and where our business really begins. And it's about providing communities and locations where our residents want to live, and then providing an environment at the asset level that is, that creates a real community and a real an enjoyable environment for a resident. And the dynamic that's happening globally is urbanization, and young people are moving to urban centers around the world. And when people move to urban centers, there's a requirement for higher density housing. And as the trends continue to skew more towards renting versus owning across many assets, whether it be an automobile or whether it be a home, certainly rental housing in an urban format is growing and growing in demand. And so Greystar is really on the forefront of creating professional housing in urban centers that are really geared to create a wonderful environment for our residents. Well, many of the top initiatives for cities, particularly in Europe and also around the world, is housing. Most of the cities across Europe are underhoused. There's an undersupply of housing. And what Greystar does as a business is to create housing in an urban environment. So the natural partnership between the mayor and the leadership of a city and Greystar is very natural and can create terrific public-private partnerships in order to create housing, in order to solve a deficiency in the housing stock, in order to increase the quality of housing for the residents of each city. And that's why we believe a partnership with mayors across Europe can be mutually beneficial. Certainly one of the larger challenges in our industry is when you need to build new housing, the creation of the asset itself requires a land transaction, requires a planning process, requires an intense design process, and then a very expensive and timely construction process, and then also a stabilization process of the asset. So it's a fairly complex and long-term process that requires lots of capital and lots of resources. And so in any relationship where we can make that process more efficient, then we can create the end goal that both the cities and we're trying to accomplish and our investors are trying to accomplish to create the housing. So examples would be specific planning regimes for rental housing, would be specific, perhaps expediting of planning for large housing projects, and any way that a public and private partnership can come together in order to make it economically and more efficient to construct. And that's really the biggest challenge of our industry is just creating the housing to begin with.